always found it frightening because it was so dirty. It was a really industrial city.
Okay.
But now it's glorious. They've cleaned it all up, most of it, some of it, a little bit of it, and it's the buildings. I didn't know what wonderful buildings there are in Glasgow.
Yeah.
But I was here a couple of years ago doing a play at the Tron Theatre.
Okay.
And so I had time to explore Glasgow. And I like Glasgow a lot.
Yeah.
I think of the two cities, the major ones, Glasgow is definitely the place I'd like to be.
Yeah. Fair
the
enough.
other one begins with E, but I don't want to say it.
No.
People don't say it.
So have you seen any cosplays around, Doctor cosplays around, that you've kind of been impressed with?
Oh, yeah. There's a few. It was, yeah. Oh, look, there's my TARDIS there.
Oh, look.
Stand up.
Oh,
No.
hey. There she is.
Yes, I'd really like to get into that TARDIS, I must tell you. Well, it's my TARDIS. What are you laughing at? These are a rude lot, aren't they?
Yeah.
No, there's some great costumes. Oh.
Oh.
Hey, I knew it rained a lot in Glasgow.
It's normally
I didn't know
mineral
it fell
water.
down in bottles. Anyway, lots of good costumes. And that's what I love. I love going to conventions for that very reason. Because all over the world I've been going to conventions, and you see young teenagers sitting on the floor or in their costumes, all excited, discussing their favourite programs. It's just a joy to watch, really.
Yeah.
So I get a real great kick out of it. Yeah.
There's a big fan base for Doctor Who, absolutely massive, So how did you actually land the role for the Doctor?
How did I land it?
Yeah, how did you land that role?
I went on a fishing expedition. How did I land it? Well, what happened was that 3 years before, I heard that Peter Davidson was leaving. Yeah, that was it. So I phoned my agent and said, there's a job going at the BBC.
Yeah.
And he phoned them up and said, oh, sorry, we've already cast the new Doctor, who was Colin. And then 3 years later, I heard again on the news that he was leaving, so I phoned up again. And this time, my agent phoned John Nathan Turner, the producer, and he said, my agent said, listen, I think you should see Sylvester McCoy. And he said, Sylvester who? And my agent said, yes. And then, as luck would have it, the next phone call that came in was from a director and producer who I'd worked with a lot at the BBC, Clive Doig.
Yeah.
I'd done Vision On, Vision On, Eureka, Can't Pay, loads of things I can't even hardly remember now. Anyway, he phoned up the next phone call to John Nathan Turner and said, I think you should see Sylvester McCoy for Doctor Who. And he said, wait a minute, are you working for the same agency? He said, don't know what you're talking about. And so that was synchronicity, that moment of two phone calls at the same time. So John Nathan Turner got interested. I was at the National Theatre playing in a play, The Pied Piper, that had been written for me.
Yeah.
JNT came along and saw it, and then went back to his office and said, I found my new Doctor. But I had to go through, screen tests and all that kind of stuff.
Did Colin Baker give you any advice before you took over?
No, he didn't. He didn't turn up.
No? Oh.
He didn't turn up for the regeneration.
No?
I had to play him.
Oh.
So they put him in his costume. They lost me for 3 days. And then they put a wig on me.
Yeah.
I look like Harpo Marx. I don't mind. I like Harpo Marx. Anyway, so Colin, he'd fallen out with the BBC, and they with he. So he didn't turn up to the regeneration. So he didn't give me any advice.
Yeah.
Although Peter Davidson, I think I met, and he said to me that he had got the advice from not William Hartnell, Patrick Troughton.
Yeah.
Only do 3 years. So,
right.
So Peter did 3 years, and I thought, I'll only do 3 years.
Right.
But then later on, in the second year, the producer said to me, we want you to do a fourth season, the fourth year. And I went, and he went, if you don't do it, we won't do a third. So I did it.
Right.
And so then when it came to the fourth season, they put it into hiatus. Oh. They twisted my arm to do it, and then, anyway, the rest is history.
History. Right, so did you have any influence in the character's look?
Yes.
Any
Interviewers love that, don't they?
I love it, yeah.
No. Yes. Well, the hat. I arrived. Yeah. It was a sunny day in London town.
Oh, right.
It's in the history books. I arrived with my hat on for the interview, and John Nathan Turner said, "Oh, I like that hat. I'd like that to have that in Doctor Who." And I said, "Well, it's my hat. So if you want the hat, I have to go with it." So that's how I got the role.
All right.
So they gave me the role because of the hat. And then I suggested the baggy jacket with big pockets and for paraphernalia. The designer suggested the trousers. John Nathan Turner suggested the question mark pullover.
Yeah.
I think his granny knitted them.
Oh, wow.
That's why I had to wear them. I wasn't really that keen. I thought it was overstating, although I love it now. It's funny. It's the same with Colin and his costume. He didn't really like it then, but he now loves it because, time mends, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's it.
Although my pullover's got full of holes, so time's not mended that one.
Oh, no.
But the umbrella was my idea, the question mark umbrella.
Oh, right.
I wanted to get rid of the question mark pullover just of that. Because it seemed a much more subtle way of having a question mark.
Right, okay. So obviously working on the character, the look, did you also work on the person? You had like a kind of way you wanted the Doctor to be on screen, the personality of the Doctor?
Well, yes and no. I mean, the thing is, I hadn't seen Doctor Who for years because I'd become an actor halfway through Tom Baker's tenure, and there were no VCRs. They never repeated it. You couldn't record it. And I was an actor. I was always working in the theatre on a Saturday when it was shown.
Yeah.
So I'd lost touch. And so when I arrived, I kind of, as luck would have it, Andrew Cartmel, the script editor, he was a Canadian, or still is really, technically, I suppose. Anyway, he was a Canadian, and he hadn't seen Doctor Who, didn't know much about it.
Okay.
So two of us didn't really know much about it.
Right.
So we started as new boys and made it up as we went along.
Okay.
And my first instinct was just to come along and do the comedic side, because that's what I did. But then as I played it in the first season, I realized what depth one could mine in this character. And also at the same time, my granny, who afraid to noon, don't know what for Glasgow,
Yeah.
doesn't even understand a word I just said there.
I
But anyway,
did not understand
no.
it.
Anyway, my granny, she lived to be 100
Yeah.
and 3 months, and I remember visiting her, and she had very sparky, still alive, but the weariness of old age, not so much physically, but the loss of people, the sadness, the things she'd seen, people she'd lost, and all that, and the loneliness in a way. I remember thinking, well, my Doctor's 950 years old, so I'm going to play with that. I'm going to bring that in, and try and bring out this. Find that was one area of mining. The other was also I wanted to bring back the mystery, because by the time I got Doctor Who, we knew everything about him, which university, all those kind of things. And I thought, well, let's try and go back. So we had this idea of creating, an onion, like an onion, you peel the
Layers
the skin off, and underneath it was a new layer. Yeah. And we were dropping hints that there was more to the Doctor than was seen up till now.
Yeah.
I mean, the idea was that he was a part of a triumvirate that had founded the Gallifreyan Society. Yeah. We weren't going to dramatize that. We weren't going to show that. But we were going to every now and again drop hints that there's so much more power behind this guy, this alien, much more a mystery. Yeah. And so that was, and also mystery and uncertainty. We just wanted to bring all that, the question mark, bring all that. Doctor Who is he? I mean, is he good? Is he not? So that was the journey we were on, which is great fun. Oh. And years later, I was in Australia just recently with Peter. Yeah. That other Scottish actor, Capaldi. That's a funny Scottish name, isn't it? Anyway, Peter Capaldi and Stephen Moffat, and we were having a meal, and Stephen, turns out he's a real fanboy. Yeah. I mean, at first he was all producery and, kind of ladded down the producer. Yeah. And then after a couple of gins, he was like, oh, my God, when you did that one, and all that kind of stuff, don't you? Anyway, he was just like that. It was wonderful, really. He turned from this producer into, and he said to me, and I hadn't known this. I mean, I'm only telling you because I'm kind of rather chuffed. He said to me that we had changed Doctor Who, and we didn't do it intentionally. It was just through ignorance, really. Yeah. We changed. It was more cartoon-like before, he said, and that wasn't a bad thing. That was a good thing. But he said we changed it into something different, and that the 21st century Doctors were part of that journey. Eccleston, and also Sophie, Ace, and then Rose. There was a very strong link between the relationship and all that stuff that we'd built up, and we didn't know really we were doing that. A lot of people didn't like it at the time, but hopefully they like it now.
So what is your favourite moment from your Doctor Who experience?
I don't know really. Favourite moment? I suppose. Oh gosh, I don't know. What's my favourite moment? Lots of favourite moments, really.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm driving around on the yellow car, Nessie, is it? Bessie. Nessie in Scotland, but Bessie down there, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, driving around on Bessie. That was great fun. But I think just being in the TARDIS, because it was hilarious. We were in the TARDIS, and the BBC did not believe Doctor Who would last. And we were actually celebrating the 50th anniversary, and they still didn't believe it would last. So the TARDIS was like, I think it'd been built in 1066. Yeah. I mean, it was heavy, it was dangerous, it would be condemned if it was a house. We were in there, crammed in there, and there was a little man with a car battery, and he was in charge of the light. Yeah. So he was going. So sparks. We're standing there, this good, and there's other people, and they're holding the thing up in case it fell down, and then suddenly coming out and into the real world, and then watching them move the TARDIS when it went, it disappears. Yeah. 10 men came out behind it and lifted it up and moved it away. It was one of it was seeing the kind of the way it was made and the fun.
Good. So I read an article on Sci-Fi Now, and they had basically they gave their top 5 of your Doctor's episodes. They had Remembrance of the Daleks at number 5. Number 4 was the Happiness Patrol. Number 3 was Survival. Number 2 was Curse of Fenric. And number 1 was Ghostlight. Could you agree with that, or have you got any other favourite episodes that you liked?
No, I agree with that.
You agree with that?
Yeah, because I can't be bothered thinking out which ones it would be.
You didn't have any favourite episode that you can come to mind that you like? I enjoyed filming that, and I enjoyed the final product.
Well, I mean, the thing is, I'm blessed with the fact I actually enjoy my work. Yeah. And I mean, I know the first one was quite interesting because it wasn't actually written for me; it was written for Colin Baker. And so when I took over, they kind of tried and fitted it around me. But again, it was like his costume; it didn't quite fit. But at the same time, it was great fun. I mean, one of my favourite bits was we were filming on location, and John Nathan Turner liked to party. So at the end of filming on location, we had a party on the beach, and Bonnie Langford got up and did this. She's an amazing kind of Broadway, West End babe star. Yeah. A diva, and she sang, and I played the spoons. And John Nathan Turner said to me, "Wow, you've got to have that in Doctor Who." And I thought, "You're joking." And then I go to film a couple of days later, and in the scene, there's a bit where I actually pick out bits of machinery from the spaceship, and they look like spoons. Right. And I get to play them over Kate O'Mara's front. I mean, wow, did they bounce? But anyway, I mean, that was just, every man in the world was jealous. Yeah. Playing the spoons on Kate O'Mara's front. So that was a good moment.
If by some ways, could you reprise your role as a Doctor? Would you like to reprise your role as a Doctor if it ever happened? If you was to be asked, I know it's obviously a different actor each time, but if you was asked, would you go back and play the Doctor again?
Oh yeah, I would. And the thing is, I have never stopped playing the Doctor. No. Because there is a thing called Big Finish. Yeah. And they make audio plays of Doctor Who. Okay. And Sophie and I, and also Colin, when it all kind of closed down, we never stopped doing Doctor Who. Okay. And the reason why Doctor Who's now back is because of the fans. Yeah. It was the fans, but they asked us to go. We did pirated videos of Doctor Who, called them the Professor or the Dominie, and then we started making audio plays. Yeah. Recording in someone's toilet because it was good sound. And and also you pull the flush, it sounds like a spaceship taking off, especially when I pull the flush. Anyway, let's not go there. So we kept it going. Yeah. And so I'm still. I've done 5 or 6 stories this year of Doctor Who on Big Finish. Tom Baker does them, Colin, Peter, and David Tennant started doing them. Oh, okay. So if they asked me to do it on screen, easy. I'd carried on doing it.
You'd be like, yeah, okay, fair enough. Straight back in.
Yeah. Same old, same old.
That's it. So we'll go on to The Hobbit. You played Radagast the Brown?
No, I played Radagast the Brown.
Radagast.
See, Sassenach, can't roll his R's. Well, welcome to the country of rolling R's.
That's it, yeah.
I mean R's. And a few R's.
That's it. So how did the role come about for you?
Long story. What happened was that years before they were making Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, we get
Well,
that,
they were looking for Bilbo Baggins, and what they did was they screen tested about a dozen people.
Okay.
And then over a year, they kept getting rid of people.
Yeah.
And I got down to the last two.
Oh.
So there was myself and Ian Holm. I didn't know Ian Holm was the other one. I just knew there was two. And then Ian Holm got it and I didn't.
Okay.
So obviously they liked me then because they hung on to me to near the end.
Yeah.
And if Ian Holm hadn't been able to do it, I would have got it.
Right.
So then years later, I did. Ian McKellen played King Lear, and I played the fool to his King Lear for the Royal Shakespeare Company.
Okay.
And we toured the world with it. And on that tour, we went to New Zealand, and Peter Jackson came and saw it.
Yeah.
And then he invited Ian, myself, and Frankie Barber, who was in it, who played Goneril, or one of the girls anyway, the daughters. He invited us to his country mansion, which was amazing, really. And I went there, and I suddenly realised I was actually being looked at for something. Yeah. You know, I realised, I thought, this is like a weekend audition. And I knew I thought I'm going to put my foot in it. I usually do. But luckily I didn't seem to put my foot in it. So that was the next step.
Yeah.
Then Guillermo del Toro was going to direct it.
Oh.
And so he didn't know who I was. So I did a screen test for it. And he saw it and he said, sí, which is Spanish for yes.
Yes.
So he liked it. So anyway, he liked what he saw. So that was it. I got the part. Then because of money problems in Hollywood, it was put off for a year. Yeah. And then Guillermo del Toro had to go off and do other stuff. So then Peter took over.
Right.
Now cut to the end of the 3 years making it. Yeah. Peter made this lovely speech, as he did with all the actors. Very last scene, he made a lovely speech. He gave me a present. He gave me my staff and various other bits and pieces, some wine from Bilbo Baggins' wine cellar, and various other things, and nice words. And then at the end he said, it was really quite funny, he said, you know, it was really lovely working with you, Sylvester, and he said, and also it was great to work with Doctor Who! For 3 years he never mentioned it.
No.
But that was it. It was just at the end. And it was so funny. And that was it. Another reason why I got it, because I was Doctor Who, and he's got my costume, it turns out.
Oh, has he?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously you just said a bit about Peter Jackson, but what was he like to work with on set?
Great. He was really great. He's one of those guys. You go up to him and say, "Excuse me, could you tell me where the director is?" Yeah. Because he doesn't look like a director, you know. He's with no shoes on. He just wanders about, you know, drinking tea in a mug. But everyone loved him so much they do anything for him. You know, some directors they bully you, and they try and force you to do stuff. He didn't have, you know, jump off that mountain. Yeah, okay, Peter. You know, and so he was. I think everyone, you know, responded to him in that way. Mostly everyone, anyway. So,
did you do what did you do in terms of research for the role?
Well, when he offered it to me, they came to London. And I met them at the house near Pinewood, and they asked me for tea, and I went there. And then they said to me, "Sylvester, we would like you to play Radagast." And they did it in this kind of way. It wasn't. It was, you know, kind of. We'd like you to play Radagast. Would you do it,
please?
And I was going to, no way. I was going to bite his hand off. I said, yes. Yeah. So I rushed home. This is the research. I opened the book. I read it again. I'd read it twice in my past. Yeah. I read it again, and I found this little paragraph talking about Radagast the Brown. Yeah. That was my research. And that was it? There was nothing to research.
No, not really, no.
So when I arrived, they gave me the costume, and, you know, they gave me the lines, and I just did it.
Just did it. Just went off the cuff.
But my kind of acting is instinctive. I'm an instinctive actor.
Oh, okay.
And luckily most of the time, my instinct has been all right. But sometimes, you know, it hasn't. But mostly. So it's an instinct. You get a feeling. It's weird. It's like something happens. Yeah. And there's the character.
So the costume was amazing. Like the bird's nest. I like the bird's nest in your hair.
Oh yes,
that was really good.
It was. The bird shit was a bit of a problem.
Well, just a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, every morning they bring in a seagull, and oh gosh, Sitting there waiting for it to poo on me.
Stand on Sylvester's head for an hour and see what happens.
Yeah.
So how long was you actually in the makeup chair for? And then obviously getting back into costume as well?
Yeah, well, the whole thing took about an hour and a half, really. It wasn't that long, because, the dwarfs, they had 4 hours, 4.5 hours, really, to make the makeup. So I was all right, really.
Yeah. I also see in the behind-the-scenes segment that you're rather good at bird song. So how did the bird song come about? Did you used to do that, obviously, when you were young?
It was when I was young, you see. I spoke like that. No, I used to have a gap in my teeth, and I could whistle. He was really like that. And so I learned how to do birdie songs.
Yeah.
That was another reason maybe I think when I had tea with them, I was discussing the fact that when my sons were little, because if you'll find this, if you bird whistle to a bird, it answers you. You go, and it'll go, and top you. So I had conversations with birds, and I remember my youngest son was mad about Lamborghinis. And I knew there was one around the corner, and we had this conversation with the bird, and I said, "Oh, the bird wants to know your names," and then I'd tell them, and then the bird said, "Oh, there's a Lamborghini around the corner," and so we go around the corner, and there it was, So I was telling him the story of how, and my sons, I'd play those kind of little games, and that was how I got it in, really.
So one last question: what projects have you got coming up in the future, if any?
Well, yes, I did earlier. I did a horror film with Maggie Q.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's supposed to come out in November. And I've never done a horror film before. I've been horrible in films, but never done a horror film. But this one, I got to bounce off the walls, foam at the mouth, and try and strangle a child. Wow. It was great. I had a ball. It was
an enjoyable experience.
It was huge. The only problem, I didn't kill the child because I got stabbed as well, so I had to die. But the thing is, I died happily because it was called Slumber, and it's all about the fear of sleep. And my character was so frightened of sleep, he wouldn't sleep. So when anyway, I shouldn't give, that's the given away.
That's right.
And another one, I've just finished doing a series for Netflix, which I can't really tell you about, except it came out last year, and it's got 8.2 on IMDb.
Okay.
It's got very well received, and I play 3 or 4 episodes in the next one, which comes out 8 episodes, 12 episodes. And then they sign me up for the year after and the year after, if they want me. So that is there, and lots of other things.
Oh, thank you.
I just come back from Oklahoma.
Oh, okay. What was you doing
Not
there?
the musical, but the actual place. And what I did there, well, I stood in the doorway of my bathroom because I was in an earthquake, 5.6.
Yeah.
Yes, it swayed all over the place, but luckily nothing fell down on my head.
Oh.
Although I used to be 5'6" and now I'm 5'3", so something's made me shorter.
Yeah, it's probably the earthquake as well.
Yeah, shaking.
Well, thank you very much, Sylvester. It was absolutely amazing talking to you. Remember, guys at home, if you like any of our stuff, then please give us a thumbs up and please subscribe.
People are at home.
Yeah, people at home. We are live, Sylvester. So this is Sylvester, everyone.
Yes, hello, people at home.
So, guys, please subscribe.
No, you stop picking your nose.
Oh.
That person, look, they're picking their nose at home.
Yeah. Oh, no, I wouldn't have that.
Can't see you.
Well, guys, it's been absolutely amazing to have Sylvester. Remember to subscribe. Remember to give us a thumbs up. Round of applause, everyone. Sylvester McCoy. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sylvester.